What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is all about redemption. If you haven't watched episode 2-1 of this install yet, go back, watch that now, and get caught up. I'll wait. All right, that should be long enough. Now that I've received the new torque converter, I already went ahead and did a trial fit just to make sure. I mean, look at what happened in the last video. Once I verified that, I took the flex plate, lined up the mounting holes, marked the new torque converter with those mounting hole locations. I've remounted the flex plate to the block, and then I filled the torque converter with about a quart of ATF. We're ready to go ahead and slap it on the transmission. Now that's how it should have gone on last time. With the torque converter installed, I'm now ready to try to maneuver this thing into place. Little tip though, there you can see on the bottom of the case, I just put a couple of C-clamps, and that's to hold the torque converter in place while I maneuver everything around. All right, so I'm not really sure just how well this will show up on camera, but you can see I got the transmission mounted up. Nothing's really torqued down yet. I just got it, everything's basically snug. So this is the reason why you paint your torque converter and flywheel. So let me grab it, see how well this is going to show up. So there you can see is the unpainted. Let's get this thing to focus a little bit better. So there's the unpainted portion of the flywheel and the unpainted section of the torque converter. Over here, let's see if I can, come on, focus. Focus. You're not going to focus for you. Anyway, there's the silver portion painted of the flywheel along with, the silver section of the torque converter. So now I just take one of my bolts, which they've all there we go. Now I should be able to just go whoop. Got that bolt started, maybe. There we go. Sorry for I'm on the floor and it's very tight space, but there is the one bolt started. Whoop. Anyway, all right, let's try that again. So there's the one bolt started. Now I know the other three will line up perfectly. Right over here, I have the unpainted. Lines right up. And now I'll be able to turn the engine and get the other two holes down here, and those will be lined up perfectly. Now that the transmission is fully bolted in, I still have to locate a bolt for the starter. I gotta wire up my backup light, run my shift cable. I believe, if I remember right, it attaches to these two bolts there in the pan. Run the kickdown cable, and then I can finally cut my two cooler lines to length and get those all routed and tucked up away from where the exhaust will eventually come down. I also got to finish securing the cross member. It's just loosely put in place, and I have to locate a bolt for the actual transmission to cross member mounting. The mount, I got to find the bolt that actually goes through there. All right, so it's been a few days, and after getting everything hooked up to the transmission, I ran into a couple of issues. First, it didn't matter whether I was in park, reverse, or neutral, my backup lights were always on. They were turned off if I was in any of the forward gears, but park, reverse, or neutral, backup lights were on. So what it ended up being was on the gear select lever, the gear select detent lever, inside the transmission, there's a plastic piece called a rooster comb. and that rides on the switch for the backup lights and the neutral safety switch if you have one. That switch is normally closed, so if there's nothing pushing on the switch, it's out and the pins are normally closed, and that completes the circuit and allows your tail lights to turn on. My rooster comb was a little out of alignment, so it rode a little high and it wasn't engaging the switch where it was supposed to turn the lights off, and thereby my lights were always on. So I just went in there. What made me find it was I pulled the switch out to check the switch, and I looked inside and noticed that that rooster comb seemed to be a little out of alignment. So I just push it down with a screwdriver. Now it engages properly and my tail lights work as they should. The second issue was much more serious, and that had to do with the starter. All right, so here's the starter that came out. So the issue I ran into was right here below the pinion gear. Let me show you. So I mounted the starter and everything mounted up just fine. It looked like the teeth were going to line up just fine. So when I engage the starter and the Bendix pushes the pinion out to meet up with the ring gear, this piece was hitting the B&M Flexplate by, what, 1/4 of an inch, maybe? Basically just the width of the distance between the end of the gear and the end of this collet or whatever. I forget what this thing is called, but that was hitting the B&M Flexplate. So I started doing a little research, and it looks like that B&M Flexplate is the same one used on a 904 and a 727. It has mounting holes for both transmissions. And I think that's why it might be a little bit wider in diameter than, let's say, a stock Flexplate for a 904. It looks like it's just maybe a 1/2 inch narrower than my 11-inch ring gear, which is on the torque converter. So with that little bit wider, a little bit larger diameter flex plate, that's why the starter was hitting the flex plate. So went online, started doing a little bit of research, and I believe it was on For A Bodies Only forum that people were talking about this same issue. And what I found was that they suggested using a starter out of a 98 Dodge Dakota. So I took that information, did a little more research, and that starter is used on pretty much all 96 to 98 Dakotas, Dodge Rams, and some of the vans. I believe anything with a 5.2, a 5.9 liter. I don't remember if it's for any of the 6-cylinders, but I know the 5.2s and the 5.9s both use that same starter. So went to my local pickup part today, found a 97 Ram 1500 with a 5.9, picked up a starter, bought it home, and here are the results. We got rotation. So the next step now is to finish the exhaust, fill the radiator, connect the fuel pump, put some gas in it, put some fluid in the transmission, and we should be ready to start this thing in the truck for the first time. But that'll all be coming in the next video, at least the exhaust part. So thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe, hit the bell, and hopefully the next one will actually start this thing in the truck. Thanks for watching.